Hello and welcome to Coding with Stephen. Today we're going to have a look at one of our basic JavaScript challenges, working with strings reverse it. What you can see here in front of us is actually a repository which contains a whole bunch of information on getting started with our challenges. I'll post a link in the video description so that you can go ahead and download the repo and get your environment set up so that it looks identical to mine here, so it's the same when you're working through these challenges. Today, like I said, we're going to work through the working with strings reverse it. So we're just going to head over and take a look at the instructions that come with the challenge, which will give us a bit of an idea as to what we need to do. So we're going to get a function as part of the coding challenge, which is going to be reverse a string. And this function should return a string that's passed into it in reverse. So A, B, C, D, E, F should be F, E, D, C, B, A. So that should be simple enough. We've got a command here that we can run, which will run our tests, which will tell us whether the code that we've written works. So if you just copy and paste that into your terminal, when we run the tests, you'll notice that there's a few failing tests that come up, and that's because we haven't done anything to fix the code yet. Once you've written this function, you can run those tests again just to make sure that what you've done actually works. So we'll just head over to our JavaScript file here. What we've got is reverse a string function. It's got one parameter, which is going to be a string, and the expectation is for us to return that string in reverse order. Now, sadly, strings in JavaScript don't just come with a built-in function for reversing. So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of the Mozilla documentation for strings to figure out what we need to do for this particular challenge. I'll pass a link for this particular piece of documentation in the video description as well, so you can go and check this out. Mozilla provides a lot of documentation on objects within JavaScript that have some really nice properties. So string is a prime example of that. Now, if you've worked with the working with arrays reverse it challenge that we've got, you'll know that it's quite easy to actually reverse an array in JavaScript, an array being a collection of items. So what we're going to look to do is actually split our string up into an array of single characters. And there's a really handy function associated with string in JavaScript called split. And what that does is it takes an argument of a separator, and then there's a couple of other additional arguments as well, which I'd recommend going and taking a look at the documentation to get a bit of an idea as to all the different bits that you can do with it. But for what we need, all we're going to do is we're going to work with splitting the string, so that'll give us the constituent parts of the string in array formats, and then what we'll look to do is reverse that array using the array reverse built-in function. And then once we've got that string in reverse order, we'll then need to have a look at how we can kind of connect that all back together so that it returns the actual string value and not just an array. And what you'll find is, same as with split, there's actually a helper function with a string called join. For some reason I can't. It's actually not on string, is it? It'll be on array. So let's have a look. So when you're working with an array, let's have a look. Global objects /array. So attached to the array object, there'll be a helper function attached to that, which is called join. And what that does is that joins all elements of an array into a string. And you can pass in an argument for joining things, and so that you can pass in like a separator to join. So we're going to use the same separator that we use to split the string as we do to join, so that it comes out looking as we'd expect. So let's just move that one out of the way. So what we're going to want to do is we'll make this quite into some nice easy steps So we'll first start our return statement. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do string.split. So I'll make use of the split function, and the argument that you pass into split is the separator that you want to use for splitting. So in the case where you've perhaps got a sentence that you want to split with spaces, if you pass the space as a separator, then that will split everything just on the spaces. But what we want to do is actually just split the entire string character by character, and we can do that just by passing an empty string into the split. And once we've split the string, we can then work on it as though it's an array. So we can then call the reverse function on that, which will then give us an array of the string values in reverse order. And then all we need to do is call join, passing in the same separator that we use to split, which will essentially join every character together without any spaces or commas or anything like that that you would expect. So we'll do that. What we'll do is we'll then run the tests just to make sure they're all working okay. And we've actually got three passing tests, so that you can see when we pass in these different values, they actually end up being calculated or returned in reverse order. What I'd recommend doing, take a little bit of time to have a look around the Mozilla documentation for string, splitting, joining and reversing are all really common operations that you'll be working with in JavaScript. So it's always good to get the hang of those. And once you're done, just fill in your challenge here, get your passing tests, and you're good to go.